Hey YouTube, it's your girl Dr. J coming back with part 2 of labels, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sorry for the delay, but we are homeschoolers, so we had a field trip to the zoo. So we had to run out the door because right after I filmed part 1 and we left before I even finished uploading it. So that's why part 2 is like several hours behind part 1, but the zoo was great. 2 hours away, but it was great. Okay, so why is labeling important in my videos? The reason why I think labeling is so important in my videos is because a lot of people are on YouTube watching videos for the same reason that I'm on YouTube watching videos. And that's so we can learn from other people, we can maybe implement some things that other people are doing. And a lot of people are new homeschoolers. Some people, this is going to be the first year homeschooling. Some people, they're trying to decide whether or not they homeschool. And so there's a lot of information that comes out. A lot of times, for all homeschoolers, it doesn't matter if you've been homeschooling for 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. Sometimes we do compare what we're doing and the amount of work that our kids are doing to other people at times. It's just the nature of things. It doesn't mean that you don't like what you're doing. It's just that there's that natural tendency to kind of spot check what you're doing against what other people are doing. When I talk about things like the fact that my daughter finished 2 complete years of math in 6 weeks, it's important for that to be framed in the context of this is a highly to profoundly gifted child. So that's not normal. That's not average. That's not what that curriculum was intended for. So that way, if somebody is watching that video, they're not going, oh my goodness, it took my child an entire year to do just 1 grade level of math. Am I doing something wrong? Should I be going faster? So that's the reason why understanding that framework is important, because it's not going to put undue pressure on somebody who's maybe a little bit newer to the world of homeschooling, or they are trying to find new things for their children and they're going, okay, did this person just say that all of her kids finished at least 1 year of math in just 6 weeks? So that helps. When I talk about the fact that my 7-year-old is in the 3rd grade and is doing balanced equations and geometry and multiplication in his math, when it is framed accordingly and that people understand, okay, this child is doing algebra, okay, in his math because he is taking math from a program that was designed specifically for gifted children. I don't need to expect my 7-year-old to be doing geometry and algebra in his 3rd grade math class. That is not the expectation that I should have from my child. What my child is getting in Saxon or Singapore or any of these other math classes, that's exactly where they need to be. That's one reason why it's important to frame the work that my children are doing. When I hold up a teaching company text, video and say, okay, yeah, this is a part of our astronomy that we're doing, or this is a part of our physics that we're doing, and people go, wow, are her kids, I thought our kids were in 1st and 3rd grade. It helps to frame it so that people don't go, okay, wow, I'm not doing, that level. I'm not doing that level of information with my kid. Am I doing something wrong? No, it's understood. Just like if my children were on the opposite end of the spectrum and I said, okay, my child is 7 and we're learning the alphabet, people wouldn't go, well, I can take some years off because my kid already knows the alphabet. Well, that's, yes, your child may be doing the alphabet, may have done the alphabet 4 or 5 years ago, whereas this child is exactly where they need to be learning the alphabet at this time. So it's just making sure that those parameters are being framed, so as people are watching the video, they can kind of weigh, oh, I can take this, but I need to leave that because that's not the same thing that I'm dealing with. At the same time, it's also important for the label so that people that are in similar situations can find each other. Because I know for me, it was a little scary at first how fast my kids were going through information and how fast my children were, going through their different curriculums. And I would sit there like, okay, should I be trying to slow them down? And it was when I was able to find other people who also had children at this level of the gifted spectrum, and we could talk together and say, oh yeah, well, that's consistent with what my child is doing. Or I have, conversations with people where their children were early enrolled in college, or they're much further along in the education game than I am with their children. And I've gotten support in my journey, and I want to be there to support other people in their journey for their gifted children, because there's not a lot out there, because we're talking about a smaller percentage of the population. So that's the reason why labeling to me is so important, because people need a framework for when they are looking at your videos and looking at your curriculum and looking at what you do, because a lot of people are new and they're trying to find their way. A lot of people are looking for their tribe and looking for people that are aligned with them, so they can say, okay, I haven't been able to find anybody in my real life who I can kind of bounce these things off of. It's wonderful to be able to find this person right here. Okay. If it makes people uncomfortable to label, that's fine, and I get that. But there's a reason why I label, just like there's a reason why I label my children as dyslexic. So when I talk about how much we use, audiobooks, people can see, okay, oh wow, now I understand why they might be using audiobooks to the extent that they use audiobooks, or they might be using DVDs to the extent that they're using DVDs. I also want to be a resource for other people whose children might be dyslexic, and they go, wow, I didn't realize that, or you confirmed something that was going on with us. So yes, labels can divide, but labels can also bring together. Yes, labels do build walls, but labels also clarify the situation, because I could go through the list of, characteristics that gifted kids tend to possess and do that every video, or I could just say gifted when I'm dealing with something that's specifically about gifted children. Or if I'm dealing with something that is it's specifically auditory processing, and somebody says, well, I'm not interested in auditory processing, or why would I even watch that video when my kids aren't dealing with that? Okay. My kids are on their own trajectory, and I have to make sure that I frame what I talk about for people so that everybody is clear on the parameters that affect our particular situation, so that people, when they're watching the video, they can say, you know what, my child needs more than 1 or 2 repetitions, so the program that she's recommending probably won't work for my child. Or somebody who says, you know what, my child wasn't liking the spiral method. I get now why they're not liking the spiral method. She's having success with this method over here. Maybe we should use that. So just like I've been able to glean from other people because they say, okay, these are the parameters that we work with, and this is how we do this, and this is how we bring this into our home. It's important for me to know what curriculum people are using, because sometimes when people are talking about things that they're doing in their homeschool, I go, okay, well, that person is using that particular type of curriculum, so of course this fits well with their curriculum. There was a reason why I couldn't fit it into our school. Even though it looked fantastic, even though it seemed brilliant, it wouldn't fit for us. There are some people who do some things on their videos, and I am salivating at the things that they're doing. Like, I look at like Little Homeschool Mama's lap books and all that kind of stuff, and I salivate because they are amazing. But I know that I can't do that with my kids because it wouldn't work for them. They have, you know, they don't have necessarily the patience for it. They go through information, you know, at such a rate that, you know, we would be building the book and they'd be like, oh, you know, we moved on. Now we want to hear about this over here. So I would be mad. But when I saw, you know, My 3 C's of Joy, when she was showing like her math journals, I was like, oh, that's it. And then she said, these are the parameters. This is the reason why I put these things in my math journal. And so when I went to create my math journal, I said, okay, I understand the reasons why she had X, Y, and Z in her journal. I may only need Y and Z and then A, B, C in my journal. But I get why she put the things in her math journal that were there and how I can tailor the math journal for me. Other people do that too. So when you understand the parameters that people are dealing with, it helps to inform the work that you do and what you can glean and what you can leave. It's not about we're all, you know, I'm bragging on my child here, I'm bragging on my child there, or I'm trying to, you know, make my child look like they're so different. Every child is unique. Okay? Every homeschool video I watch, everybody does something a little bit different. Some people do, you know, some things where I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And then those same people will do something and I'm like, not for us. All in the same person. I'm not trying to only find people that look, talk, walk, act, believe, think just like me. I don't want that. I've got me. I don't need another me. What I need is to be in a community of people who aren't necessarily just like me. And when people frame the perspective that they're coming from, and when people frame the type of child that they're dealing with and why these things are working for their child, that helps me, because it helps me much more quickly make an assessment of, this is brilliant, but we can't do it, or this is brilliant, this is how I can modify it for us, or this is brilliant, I don't have to touch it. You know, I can use it right now. So that is why I think that labels are important for me. They may not be important for other people. Other people may say, I don't ever need a label, and that's okay. But y'all saw my homeschool room tour. I classify everything. Everything has a place. Everything has a shelf. Everything has, that's how things are in my mind. Everything goes in a particular spot. And so the labels help me put things in their right spot. And I'm not the only person on the planet that functions that way, but I have to do this channel in a way that makes sense for me and not do it in a way that, okay, wow, I'll get more subscribers if I do it this way. This wasn't about getting subscribers. This was about being a part of a community that's been so helpful to me, and I wanted to pay a little bit of it back. So that is part 2 of the good, the bad, and the ugly of labels. This is Dr. J, and I'm out.